Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Let's discuss our setup overnight and how data possibly could have helped us here. So, with our setup, we get our data structure set up properly. We have our high of day, our stat low of day. So if we look at our low of day, there's a potential to grind, right? But if we look at the timing, it seems that this is really a move down somewhere around the open. Doesn't mean it won't grind down, but typically somewhere near the open. And we were looking at trying to put in the high throughout the rest of the day, very possibly. So, but what did we get at the open? So before the open, we ended up getting the PPI final data. And if we notice, right, here's our stat high, stat low, and we had an extended high in case we kept going just because of this data that came out. But this data really nailed right into our stat high of day. So from here, we really wanted to see this thing start to come back down. So in our data, one thing that we have to think about is that a lot of things have already been hit. We had all of these levels, the midnight, Globex, all of that had already been hit. We had on the 12-hour candle, we had the mid, we had the high hit. So the only thing really left was this 83% probability to get down and sweep the overnight low. All right. So ultimately, that's the main target we're looking for on this move back down. So what do? Well, when we get this move, this is where we have to take the trade early, right? So we have to take the trade early, knowing that we could also pop into this range and add to it. So what we're wanting to do is take, at least for me, is half of a position, knowing that there's a possibility this thing continues to reach up. So if we were to set up our replay, we would be looking at somewhere in this range. Now, we could have waited for the move back up if we wanted to, but we're wanting to take half a position. So what we'll do is we'll just take, in this case, we'll just take a single NQ. Usually for these replays, we do two. So now what we're looking for is if we get a move up here, we're wanting to add up into this upper range. Otherwise, we're looking for a target to try to come sweep this low. Now, there are always things that happen throughout the day, and these things just happen the way that they happen. So our target was going to be come down here and sweep this low. And so at the open or into the open, we start getting our move and we start getting what I would say is a harmonic setup, right? We get our low point there. We get our potential or attempted recovery. We get our rejection. So I use footprint as well. And we had this selling imbalance up here, and we'd created this buying imbalance, right? So what are we looking for here? Well, we're looking to go break this imbalance, sweep the low, possibly get some recovery, and continue down. So this is what we got at 9:30, and these are 5-minute candles, of course, but this 5-minute candle pulled. We didn't quite get the sweep, and we tried to recover back through the other side of 9:30 in the buying imbalance. So what we're looking for here, as before, we're looking for this 9:30 zone rejection, right? Because this is where our money is. So that's the defense spot. So we get this move back down, and then we get this. So there's a 900 level here. Around this 900 level, we had our volume point of control this morning. And so we really just came down into it and held and started to push back up. So here we are moving back up after we get this. And now what we want to see is we want to see continued rejection on this, right? And so we don't want to see this thing get back through the high of that 930, but we created this buying imbalance. So my rule typically is if we don't find our low side, there's a certain amount of time these trades need to play out. Now, right in this area, we started to get this news of drones, Russian drones in Poland. So we knew that we were probably going to get a pullback. We knew this thing was going to try to come down. What we didn't want was to take out this buying imbalance to go push up to this selling imbalance, which is a common thing that does occur. So for me, if I see it start to move back up, this is where I'm going to just exit the trade because it's not worth it for me to stay in it. So We do come back down when we start to get this news. We come back into this buying imbalance, right? So now, as we start to hold this buying imbalance, we're starting to set up this move to get back up to this high side. And so I have other indicators that I tend to use as well. But as we started to recover and set up this pattern, I ended up exiting the trade. Right, and I ended up exiting the trade right in here around 9:58 or so. Let's see. Yeah, as soon as we started to get through the middle of this hour, I ended up cutting the trade. And this is where I ended up taking I mean, we'll call it a win. Either way, it's still a win. But so right up in here is where I ended up closing out the trade. So now if we look through the rest of the day, what do we have? Well, we ended up not moving back into this. We ended up with a continued rejection to the low side and to finally come down and get this target. So if we look here, we ended up pulling through to go get this low side target that we had originally talked about. So we did get it. And ultimately, if this thing's going to keep coming down, we want to see it come down into this this low of day zone. There's a spot here for this thing to bounce, which is what I would prefer. There's also some patterns now that have set up to sweep even lower. So for the rest of the day, that's really what we want to see and look for. If we happen to catch a move back to the upside, at this point I'm finished trading, but this is ultimately going to be the target we're going to look to go recover. But I mean, we really want to see this thing try to continue down into this low of day zone. So hope everybody had a good day. I look forward to talking to everybody. If you want access to this data, you know where to find us. Just let me know.